All right, today we're talking about the #1 exercise that you probably are not doing that'll help you pull under the bar faster when you're snatching. All right, and that movement is
the muscle snatch.
Woo! If you've never seen a muscle snatch, Mike's going to give you a quick demo so you know what we're talking about. It looks kind of like a power snatch, but it's not quite the same thing. You'll see that once the bar gets to Mike's hips, he does extend his hip aggressively, but after that, he kind of is just standing up. Once the bar gets to his hip, he kind of just stands up aggressively and then uses his arms to pull it overhead. He's not extending and then coming down and catching like you would on a power snatch. He's obviously not getting all the way into a full squat. So really, one of the benefits here is that Mike's aggressively pulling with his arms to get the bar from his hips to all the way overhead. So if you're a person that has a lot of trouble continuing to pull on the bar to pull you under the weight, then muscle snatches are probably a very good option. So one more time, Mike's going to do it one more quick demo. Now that you can see, or now that you're aware of that, and you'll be better able to see the pull from the hip to overhead, you can see that Mike's not doing a power snatch. He's doing a muscle snatch, which is distinctly different. Beautiful. All right, you can think of this very similar to how you think about pull-ups. We kind of have two distinct variations of pull-ups. We have strict pull-ups and we have kipping pull-ups, and they're used for different things. So you can think about a power snatch or a regular snatch as being a kipping pull-up. You're trying to get as much momentum as possible on a kipping pull-up, where you get that momentum, then you kind of float up to the bar. A power snatch is very similar to that, where once you get to here and you get that extension, the bar's kind of weightless as you pull yourself under and you kind of pull your body underneath the bar. A power snatch is more similar, a muscle snatch, which is what we're talking about specifically on this video, is more similar to a strict pull-up. On a strict pull-up, you're hanging under the bar. You don't produce any momentum by getting a kip or any amount of swinging, and you just use your muscles strictly to pull yourself all the way up to the bar, or rather vertical, obviously. And then for a muscle snatch, it's similar. You get a little bit of momentum, but once you get to here, it's all arms pulling on the bar to pull the bar overhead. You're not pulling your body underneath the bar. You're pulling the bar over your body with your arms. So again, if you're a person that has a lot of trouble with pulling on the bar, then this is a good movement for you. We don't often teach it to beginners so much, mostly because beginners, they often pull too much on the bar with their arms and they're not using their legs enough. Whereas once you get some experience under your belt and you become more intermediate, we find that some people, they worry about their leg drive too much, and then once they get to here and they're kind of fully extended with their legs, they kind of just fall under the weight and they're not pulling on the bar enough. And for those athletes, muscle snatches tend to work very well because they have the leg drive but they're not using their arms enough, and so we give them a drill with muscle snatches to make them use their arms a little bit more. And then hopefully, ideally, in the end, you're using your legs to their full extent, and then you're using your arms to their full extent, where the legs drive the weight up, and then your arms drive you under the weight as fast as possible. And if you can do that, then obviously you can snatch as much weight as you possibly could. So that's one specific way that we like to use the muscle snatches for our lifters. All right, so you saw Mike before doing basically a full muscle snatch. That's probably the most common version you can do, but there's many other variations within that. If you look at Mike right now, he can basically pull just from a standing position. This might be something you would do more like in your warm-up, okay, just with an empty bar like that, where he's doing just kind of like a modified overhead press. A modified
we like
overhead.
the press around here.
You press a lot of weight. A modified overhead press, which has a lot of external rotation, has a kind of a side benefit doing it super strict like that. He could also pull from, oh, actually, he could even do it from there. He could do it from squatting quad if you wanted to. We do this in our warm-ups a lot. Or he could do it from the hang if you want to do it from the hang. So he's just bent over in the hang, get to that power position and pull. He could do it as a stop snatch, where he starts with the bar on the ground, where he's at mid-shin, and he pauses above the knee or below the knee, and then finishes the movement. So you can still do a muscle snatch from any other position you want to. You could do it sitting if you wanted to, since you would just be sitting and pulling like that, very similar to the standing version we showed at the very beginning. So lots of different variations. In the next section, we're going to come back and talk about how to do each technique specifically. All right, so how do you do a muscle snatch? So if Mike pulls the bar up and just stands there normal with a snatch grip, we'll talk about the arm mechanics first. So again, part of the reason we like to do muscle snatches, in addition to simply working the muscles that you're going to be using to pull the bar overhead, is that it gives you a really good bar path. So if you look at Mike from the side, as he does a muscle snatch, he does it just like he would snatch. Elbows up and back, and then he rotates over top, and the bar stays very close to his body. You can't really do, especially a heavy muscle snatch, with the bar getting out in front of you. For all the people that loop the bar in front of them, where they have kind of straight arms and they do that big loop, once the bar gets heavy, you know, if Mike puts the 15s back on, then the bar is not going to be able to get away from him, because the further away from him the bar gets, the heavier it seems to be, and it gets a lot harder. So it'll correct itself simply by adding a little bit of weight. You'll automatically want to keep the bar as close as possible, simply because it's way harder not to do it like that. But if you're doing a regular snatch and the bar is essentially weightless as it's passing, you know, this area, and you don't really have to pull on it very much, then you don't really get that instant feedback like you do on a muscle snatch specifically, where you're having to pull very hard with your arms. All right, so that's how your arm mechanics will look. As far as your lower body mechanics, again, if Mike does a demo from mid-shin where the bar would be, if he had plates on it, all the mechanics of the snatch remain the same as far as first pull, transition, and second pull. But if he does it in slow motion, he gets to the power position here, then, especially again, if he's doing this heavy, he's going to get to full hip extension, but his heels are going to stay on the ground. And then from here, once he's basically all the way standing up straight, his arms take over, his hips stay locked out straight. He's squeezing his butt together nice and hard. That way he doesn't rebend, because there's no pulling yourself under the weight during a muscle snatch. There's only pulling the weight over you. That's one of the key distinctions. So if he does that a little bit faster, kind of like half speed, you can see he stands up, and then gets to a full locked out, hip, knees, ankle's not really locked out, but hip, knees, and then heels on the ground, and the arms take over, and he drives it overhead.
The common mistake is that people will get here and they have a hard time not getting back under like a power snatch. So really keeping in mind that you need to keep those glutes squeezed at the top is going to keep you from rebending. So squeeze all the way up.
Yeah, once your knee and your hip gets straight, it stays straight. So you get to here, and then you just stay there and pull arms only. All right, so when should you do muscle snatches? You have a couple options. Warm-ups, as we said, you know, doing it with an empty bar. It's a good way to just get ready to go do, you know, heavier snatches when you're doing the full movements. You also can do them as a main lift, or you can do them as assistance work. Depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to include them as a main lift, a good day to do that is a day where you still want to get a good workout, but you're trying to probably have a little bit of a lighter day. You don't want to go for a 1 rep max snatch. You might go for a 3 RM muscle snatch, where kind of by default, even with 100% effort, you automatically are going a little bit lighter. Your 3 RM muscle snatch might be, you know, 150 pounds versus your full snatch, which might be 225 or whatever. So it's a good way to automatically go a little bit lighter, but still get some really solid work in. Or you could do it as assistance work after you do the main lifts, your snatches and your cleans, your jerks, your front squats, back squats, maybe in some of your other assistance work like your snatch pulls, your snatch high pulls, or whatever else you're doing that day. And now you're on to doing the other things in your workout that are kind of less important for a weightlifter, but are still important, like pull-ups and weighted push-ups, maybe you're bench pressing, whatever. You could include, you know, 3 sets of 5 of muscle snatches as assistance work. Mike also has another unique example that for some of the advanced lifters could use.
Yeah, I like to do like a 5 rep max on muscle snatch, then do some drop sets, so drop down to 5 or 10% of that 5 rep max, and I'm going to then basically pre-fatigue the shoulders a little bit, like Doug was talking about. Minimize the weight, but maximize the effort, so it'll be really difficult, but you're not going to put yourself under a huge load. Then do some work off the blocks. So if you have trouble like really getting underneath the bar, you're going to pre-fatigue the shoulders a little bit, so that way you really have a max effort pulling underneath the bar, but you're not going to go real heavy doing it, and you're able to train like getting under what feels like a heavy load. So it's a really great way to kind of train getting underneath the bar without going heavy, and is a great way to build up shoulders specifically for snatch.
All right, if you like this video, you can also go to barbellshrug.com, click on the TechniqueWOD tab at the top of the page. We have more videos just like this in the library. Also, we have a free 50-some-odd page ebook that you can download at flightweightlifting.com. It has examples of programming for weightlifters. It has examples of frequently asked questions that we get from our weightlifters. It also has links to a 6-part video series that we have for snatches and for clean jerks. So it's an awesome resource. Doesn't cost you anything, and you can get that at flightweightlifting.com. We'll see you another day.
Join the conversation every week after the episode over at barbellshrug.com. This is also where you'll find new episodes of Barbell Shrugged, TechniqueWOD, Nuggets and Pearls, Barbell Business, Get Change, plus new articles every day on our daily blog, written by us, guests of the show, and some of the biggest names in strength and conditioning. So, go there and leave a comment now. Oh my gosh, wow, that's so cool. Yay, that's so awesome.
Did you like this video? If so, subscribe to our channel and share this with your friends.
And if you want even more free, awesome resources to help you reach your fitness goals, plus some updates that we only share over email, head over to barbellshrug.com and sign up for the newsletter.